Hello. So, my name's Ollie and I am 30 years old. No, don't look it. No, I do. 30 years old, and last week, after spending a long time considering doing this, I decided to get and pay for privately a ADHD assessment. Now, I know this is something at the moment that's very popular on like TikTok and Instagram and Reels and you name it, all the social media stuff that I can't even keep up with anymore being 30. But I decided to go for it because the older I get, the longer I spend time researching and seeing different things pop up and hearing stories from people that I've met about their experiences with ADHD and all the sort of things that they've struggled with and sort of been able to overcome through the time with treatment and whatnot. They've showed me their success stories. So, yeah, I thought, you know what? I've always been told as a child I was an absolute monster in terms of hyperactivity and not sleeping and always being on the go and never being able to focus. And for a long time, this is in the sort of late 90s, they thought, oh, he's dyslexic. I guess dyslexia then was like the big thing that most kids had. Well, not most kids, but you know, any kids that had sort of problems with learning that went somewhere else on the neurodivergency scale. So I had dyslexia tests, not actually until I went to university, because I found myself always falling behind with essays and in exams, always taking a bit longer to do work. So in the UK, if you get these tests done for dyslexia in university, you can get extra time and other support for doing the test. And if you are, diagnosed, you can get extra support. So with that being said, I went for my dyslexia test at university, and again had to pay for it. And the guy said to me that was doing my assessment, he's like, you're just scraping the sort of category limit for dyslexia. Sorry, I'm walking my dog, which is why I'm looking behind me. I'm not being stalked by anything. That's Bobo. And, you're just passing it. But if you want this extra time, you can slow down your responses a little bit, to sort of fail the test and get the extra time. So I found myself sort of cheating on that test to afford myself the comfort of having that buffer of extra time for assessments and exams and essays and all that stuff. So I was diagnosed, and the weird thing is like, I know in my mind that I can't speak for dyslexic people on the whole, because I know everyone has a different experience of it, but what I'm trying to say is that I don't think that I am dyslexic. I mean, maybe, who knows, but it's more for me that the content and the knowledge and the sort of IQ was there, but I just sort of always took a long time getting stuff in. I'd skip and rush through things, like trying to finish things really quickly, and then I'd read the questions wrong, and I would have poor handwriting, which was one of the things that they thought might be dyslexia. So I'd have to write really slowly, and then I would just sort of get jumbled up and stressed out by things. And it was weird because I went to a good school and I was put in good structures, and it helped me sort of get sort of good grades, but I felt like I was smarter than a lot of the kids there, but just didn't get the grades, and it was bizarre. Anyway, fast forward to being 30. I've had times over the last sort of 5 years where I've struggled with my mental health quite significantly. I had a period where I was on antidepressants. I've had a few rounds of CBT therapy. God bless the NHS when, you can get those services. It's amazing. And therapy helped, and I never really found the root cause of my sort of low mood and low self-esteem and things like that. But it just, where am I? I just thought, I just don't really feel like I'm depressed for the right reasons, or I just don't really feel like that I'm, sorry if I'm not making sense, I don't really feel like I should be depressed. I just sort of got lost in a bit of a low mood area, and it just sort of snowballed. As anyone that's struggled with depression knows, that it can just snowball. But mainly, I think the root cause of it was struggling with my motivation to get up and do things that sort of helped me keep on track towards my goals. And at the time that I went through that period of depression, I was in sort of a very high stress job living in London. You know, I was a senior leader in a hospitality brand as a manager, and yeah, things took its toll, and I went through this really rough patch. And you know, then I remember my sister, who has just not graduated as a doctor, but she's just finished her GP exams. She's a GP. I remember when she started learning about neurodivergency in med school, she came home to me one day and said, "Ollie, you had ADHD as a child." Key point being had, because who knows if you could still get it as an adult. I certainly didn't think that I could. So, you know, that sort of stuck with me a little bit. And then fast forward a few years, changing jobs constantly because I cannot keep interested in jobs for a very long period of time. It's a curse and a blessing, because I'm always looking for the next exciting thing. Always sort of not get bored easily, but I'm always trying to, you know, do something else, get stimulated, and meeting other people through different walks of life. You know, I've got friends that were diagnosed as ADHD as a child, and they're, you know, any conversations I've had with them have sort of always left me tickling with these little thoughts that maybe that, you know, that could be something. Especially as all the symptoms that I had were there as a child, you know, when I was a monster and hyperactive and inattentive and bad in school and stuff like that. So, and it wasn't until recently, I was in Italy with my partner, and one night in this random little bar, we just got talking to this couple. We were there for a rugby game, and we got talking to this couple, and after a while we got talking, and she said, you know, I'm neurodivergent, I'm ADHD. And then after a few beers and whatever, I started talking about it again, and she was actually very helpful. And you know, she was probably the most definitive moment in me deciding to go and get tested, and this was about 4 or 5 months ago. And she was, you know, very open, honest, caring, lovely, and, you know, asked me questions, didn't just talk about her own experience, but, you know, asked me questions about myself, my childhood, my history, my past, my depression. And I know it's a very deep chat for a bar, but, you know, a few beers can do anything. But good boy. Anyway, sorry. I got speaking to her, and we, you know, she told me about the care that she'd gotten in London from this company. And long story short, it's 8 minutes into this video now, but long story short, I bit the bullet, saved up a bit of money, and decided to get this assessment done. And that was a week ago today. And a week ago today, it was about a 90-minute session after filling out a lot of pre-interview questionnaires with the psychologist, you know, stuff about your childhood, stuff about, you know, lots and lots of questions. And, you know, I also was able to send some of those questionnaires to family members that would have known me from pre-puberty and as a child, and they were able to fill those out. And after the 90-minute session, I was, do you want to go this way or that way? No, let's go home. After the 90-minute session, she said, you know, everything you said indicates ADHD. And here comes the mixed emotions. I mean, I'm 30 years old, and I know I've always had this sort of back burner thought that, you know, I've learned differently and do things differently, and, you know, I'm very creative and have all these sort of like ideas, but also the negative side of things of, you know, having these bouts of depression, low mood, low motivation, and just sort of feeling trapped in a lazy body. And I just thought, I'm 30 and it's taken this long to get some sort of answer. And the mixed emotions were mainly one of relief, because I thought, I spent all this money and I hope I ever get diagnosed. I didn't hope I got diagnosed, but I spent all this money, I hope I get some sort of answer. And I did. And then I got quite sad and guilty, and I don't know why, or, I've not really dissected it yet. It was only a week ago and I'm still waiting for my follow-up with the psychiatrist. I didn't actually know they were different things until last week. Anyway, I got my follow-up with my psychiatrist later on this week, and in that time I've been really sort of busy in my brain. It feels like it sort of triggered all of my symptoms, and sort of everything that I'm doing is now, I don't know, it just seems like it makes sense, but it also feels a bit, I don't know, complicated. So I decided that with ADHD with ADHD still being slightly stigmatized in society, especially with the treatment options, certain people still thinking that it's not real, I decided to do this video, and I hope I can keep up with the videos as an educational standpoint, just to show my experiences, and we'll see where we go. But I just hope that this is something that, with the help of the medical profession, can be helped. The issues that I struggle with, including my mood, motivation, losing friends because of the way that I am, and not being able to keep my circles close when working abroad, which is what I do. I work abroad quite a lot, and yeah, I'm just hoping that there is a positive outcome, and by doing this, I hope that in a few months' time, or whenever, in a few weeks, months, years' time, if I'm able to still keep up with doing this for your benefit, then hopefully it will be a positive thing for anyone who watches, and maybe even myself, looking at where I am now and how far I could potentially go. So yeah, I hope that sums it up. I'll probably have to cut out a load of shit that I've said, excuse my language. My poor dog's wondering what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, stay tuned. I will keep you posted, and I'll let you know once I've got an update from my psychiatrist what the sort of treatment plans are going to be and what our way forward is, and see where we can get. But yeah, thanks for listening. And yeah, speak to you soon.